Hello, Mr. Zucker. Today, your Period 1 Group 1 will be taking you on a field trip through the Massachusetts role in the Constitutional Convention.
Hi. As delegates from the state of Massachusetts, we would like to announce our approval for the Virginia Plan, the best course of action for our future nation. Massachusetts supports the Virginia Plan as it ensures the development of equality in this new country through using the popular vote to elect people to serve in the legislative branch, having a strong centralized government that operates with checks and balances, and enforcing the natural rights of each individual citizen, including slaves. These measures will all benefit the entire country as it continues our Puritan ideals, and with these changes, a strong centralized government with checks and balances will allow the nation to balance politically and thrive economically. So, we're on the issue of fair and efficient representation. The Virginia Plan favors a strong federal government that has the power to create laws, enforce these laws, and collect taxes and repay the war debt, all priorities of this new nation. The system incorporates giving states some power and leeway from under the federal government in order to protect the interests of the states and prevent the system from turning back into a monarchy. This federal system would use two houses, one of the House of Representatives to elect members of the Senate. This would ensure that people could vote for members of the House of Representatives who would then vote in place of the citizens who had voted for them. Above this would be an executive branch that would be strong in order to keep political and economic order, but would also be checked and balanced through the legislative branch. The national government will have veto power over state governments in order to ensure the well-being of the entire country and that extremely radical movements don't break out. The judiciary branch will determine if laws have been broken by using ideals and reasoning that protect the individual rights of the people. Also, by assuring that the government maintains the order that we want, larger states will be able to guide the nation into industrialization.
First, the plan does not allow for the proposed electoral college, a foolish idea that would prevent citizens from having their votes as a priority over those of the electoral college. Citizens must rest assured that they will be given the power to vote in order to ensure that everybody in this new country be represented evenly, and that every vote cast by a citizen should count for exactly what it is, one vote. The electoral college will disrupt this process, as smaller states will be able to gain more power through the decreased value of cast votes, thus taking away the equality that everybody is entitled to in this newly formed nation. Eliminating the electoral college would allow each individual to have a voice in electing the executive power. The vote of every person in every state should count, and under the electoral college, this right to have a meaningful vote regardless of the views of others in a state would be taken away. A presidential candidate should be able to gain a fraction of the vote in any state, and the people should not be denied their vote merely because of the views of others around them.
So, on to the delicate issue of the international slave trade. We wish to abolish the international slave trade, preventing the enslavement of many Africans and preventing the weakening of our economy under slavery. As long as the current flawed system of slavery continues in the South, our economy will not progress, nor will it industrialize. The South depends on an agrarian economy, while the North depends on an industrial economy. To unite the North and South, we must abolish slavery. It's that simple. Slavery goes against all of the individual because it violates a person's right to freedom as a rational creature of God. Thus, we must work to abolish it as soon as possible. The economy that this nation requires is an industrial, mercantile, capitalist economy where all people can compete equally in order to pursue happiness. Not only is slavery immoral, but it is also harmful to the capitalist economy that is supposed to provide opportunities for any individual to succeed. Additionally, in business, slaves are bound into the business and can't leave to work anywhere else. Slavery will hurt the competition and prevent our efforts to industrialize. Furthermore, we suggest that the 3/5 compromise be used for slave representation. We acknowledge the rights of all human beings, and it is only right to give at least some representation of slaves in the South under the current flawed system. By allowing their vote, we will abolish slavery over time and keep peace with the southern states, as they will agree with the fact that each slave only gets a fraction of a vote. However, we do plan on eventually abolishing slavery, as it is a flawed system, and it will hurt us economically and morally in the views of other countries. Thank you, and God bless America. Continuing on with the issue of slavery, specifically regarding fugitives in the slave trade, we would like to say, with our strict constitutional laws that will be based on the basic human rights of any individual and off the unification of the nation, we will begin to abolish slavery for its immorality. We would like to establish slaves as people of equal status, as any white male, as they need to be looked at as humans, and with this it becomes evident that these slaves are being denied their natural rights as human beings and as Americans. Even though most people view slaves separate from us white folk, we must realize that we are all created by God, and thus we are equal. Every man, black or white, must have his basic human rights preserved under this new country. As we once set out to become a new Eden, we must now make this entire country a new Eden and lead the world in humane decisions. One of these decisions is that we must end the international slave trade within 20 years to push our nation to industrialize and no longer depend on slavery. While it is not idealistic to end this slave trade right now and currently, it is fully possible to end it within the next 20 years. Even though slavery is immoral, we must give slaves back to the South, as slaves are their property, and that would be stealing the property from them. Although the system is flawed, we acknowledge the rights of property owners as slave owners. The slaves deserve rights, however, but currently they are viewed as property, and because one man cannot steal from another man under Puritanism, slaves must be given back to their abusive owners. Puritanism stresses pious actions and demonstrates this as our founders never stole from Indians. Puritans treated Indians quite nicely, in fact. Ending the slave trade will only end by us ratifying laws against the slave trade, and eventually we can work to free the slaves and